You fucking dick! Fuck you! You piece of shit! You fucking shit! You fucking bitch!
Merry Christmas, y'all. I want to start the video by saying that I love Christmas just as much as everyone else on this wacky planet does. With a day like this, it's always that kind of holiday I am often the most excited for. We all have seen a lot of animated Christmas TV specials over the years, notably the most famous ones from the 1960s, such as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, A Charlie Brown Christmas, and Frosty the Snowman.
Happy birthday!
With the Chuck Jones adaptation for How the Grinch Stole Christmas from 1966 being my favorite out of the four, mind you. Those are really good in their respective ways, but for Christmas this year, there is a little video I doubt anyone has made, even after 2021. I will review all 3 of the SpongeBob Christmas-themed episodes and then check out for myself on which one of the 3 gets the #1 spot. SpongeBob has had 3 episodes focused completely on Christmas, once a decade. Or at least I think so. Those 3 specials are as follows: Christmas Who, from the final year of the 20th century, 2000, It's a SpongeBob Christmas from the year 2012, and the most recent one, SpongeBob's Road to Christmas from 2021. If one of these episodes end up being placed onto the top 3 instead of a number 2 or 1, that doesn't mean I don't like the episode I just placed into my number 3 spot. I like all 3 of the Christmas episodes, no matter what. So this one should be an easy challenge I made for myself. Before I get started, I want to make one rule that Goons on the Moon from Season 11 will not be featured in this ranking video due to the fact this is a regular episode. Even though that episode did feature Santa Claus, it still doesn't count. I suppose these Christmas specials for SpongeBob are only made once a decade, and I cannot help but notice that after watching SpongeBob's Road to Christmas. I will probably never know the true reason why, because it's one of those questions I can never find the answer to. So, without further ado, let's get down to the review. Our first episode in this review is Christmas Who. Christmas Who is the first episode of the SpongeBob SquarePants series to be a Christmas-centered episode. After the hit TV success SpongeBob gained in 1999, the show was renewed by Nickelodeon for a second season while the rest of Season 1 was still being aired. Albeit aired oddly out of production order a year later, starting with the 2 episodes Something Smells and Bossy Boots airing on American television on October 20th, 2000. Until 2001, no other episodes from that same season were aired for the rest of that year. The only one that was made an exception other than the other 2 episodes at the time was Christmas Who. Oh, and the last 2 episodes of Season 1 also aired in 2001 as well. Coincidentally, they were produced the same year as the first 21 episodes of Season 2. I will never understand time gaps. In this episode, Sandy tells SpongeBob about the Christmas traditions and Christmas in general. And this gets SpongeBob the idea to go tell everyone in Bikini Bottom what Christmas is. Everyone, except for Squidward, is excited and thrilled about the idea until the next day when they find out for themselves that Santa Claus had not arrived. They decide to give up and tell SpongeBob off for lying. Though ironically, the reason why Santa didn't come was because they were up all night. Squidward, who had seen everything backfire, and was also the one who had been proving his nihilistic views on Christmas to SpongeBob completely right this whole time, taunted SpongeBob and took a photo of the poor critter's extremely sad face. He then receives a gift from SpongeBob and later realizes that all what SpongeBob had been doing this whole time was to spread joy to those around him, and got out of his way to make everything up to SpongeBob when he dresses up as Santa Claus and gives up most of his stuff that he owns to the fish folks as quote-unquote Christmas presents. He later receives a letter from Santa Claus and sees for himself that he is actually real and says to himself,
Yep, I'm insane.
As the episode ends. Fun fact, this is the episode that introduced Patchy the Pirate and Potty the Parrot, whom you can tell that the pirate is played by Tom Kenny. while the parrot at the time was played by Steven Hillenburg, the creator of the show. This episode is a really good start to the SpongeBob Christmas specials for a number of reasons. The live-action sequences with Patchy and Potty are really enjoyable to watch. The Christmas version of the theme song is ear candy to listen to. The visual jokes get a smile out of me. The animation, like in the majority of Season 2, is spectacular than ever, at least when you don't have to worry about the ugly washed-out yellow on SpongeBob. And it has one of the most unforgettable songs of the whole show, The Very First Christmas. Everyone felt like they were having a lot of fun when working on this episode. I can tell that the writing team were having fun. Steven Hillenburg playing as Potty the Parrot was a real joy to listen to.
Potty, what cookie dough?
The Christmas soundtrack used from the APM archives are really nice to listen to, especially the soundtrack used in the scene where SpongeBob becomes overjoyed that he finally met Santa despite Squidward being dressed as Santa Claus to cheer him up. Tom Kenny was having fun as both SpongeBob and Patchy, and you can tell that everyone was working wonders when this episode was in production. Oh, and just a pointless but bonus fun fact, Alec Gold's composition on Joy to the World is the same track used from the Ren and Stimpy episode, Son of Stimpy, but only was it used at the very end.
I just love a happy ending.
I give this one a 10 out of 10. They brought in a SpongeBob Christmas special to the test, and it has most certainly succeeded. Now, let's go to the next episode because I am really looking forward to reviewing this one after covering the first ever Christmas-themed episode of the series. Oh, I cannot wait. So, after a century plus a decade and 10 plus years since Christmas Who came out in the US in 2000, we are headed right into the 21st century and onto another decade that does not have a 20th century year. The 2010s. 2008 through 2012, to put it bluntly, were mostly not the strongest years for SpongeBob, and it's not hard to see why. Season 6, 7, and 8 had come out and had their streak of some pretty bad episodes, and some of them might just be the worst episodes of the entire show. Sorry, that title card has always haunted me. But, despite these episodes from the following 3 seasons being seen by other people as either plain bad, boring, unnecessarily edgy or graphic, frustrating, lazy, unfunny, or borderline unwatchable, this time period for SpongeBob was not all bad. A bit rough, sure, but not 100% full-on completely bad. To be fair, there are some good episodes from these seasons during that time period. Some of these episodes are the best to come from those 3 disliked seasons, which proves my point that this run of 3 seasons have a good side to them. If anything, I am not too disappointed that I remembered collecting a few of the compilation DVD releases that have episodes from either season. But let's not get ahead of ourselves on those episodes, but rather should we go into what I think is the best episode to come from the 3 of the most disliked seasons of SpongeBob. Enter It's a SpongeBob Christmas. Christmas is on the horizon in Bikini Bottom, and Plankton is angry and fed up with being on Santa's naughty list all the time. In an attempt to get what he wants, he discovers Jerktonium, and uses that element to set out free fruitcakes to turn everybody into complete jerks, except for SpongeBob, of course, and then builds an evil wind-up robot, and the robot wreaks enough havoc to get SpongeBob and the Bikini Bottomites on Santa's naughty list this year. SpongeBob soon realizes the fruitcake turned everyone into jerks and goes to Sandy's tree dome for help. The only antidote that can cure everyone that had been turned into a jerk to Plankton's Jerktonium is a song. SpongeBob sings the entire song to get the Bikini Bottomites' Christmas spirits back, only to end up too late when the big red guy arrives. He tells everyone that they have been a bunch of jerks this year, and he decides to put everyone on the naughty list as a result. That was until the wind-up robot imposter shows up and tries to attack Santa. SpongeBob fights back against the robot with the fruitcake dispenser, killing the wind-up robot instantly while Santa gets rescued by him. Enraged over the fact the robot was actually from the chum bucket this whole time, Santa's elves give Plankton his just dues by giving him a pile of coal as punishment for all the chaos he caused. Santa says goodbye to everyone after SpongeBob had saved the day, and then leaves. And then Patrick finally captures him as attempted to as the episode ends. I remember fondly that when I was one of those preteen kids from the early 2010s, I was absolutely excited to see the special because I loved the animation concept they were going for. I watched it for the first time on DVD, and I loved it ever since. The promise it showed was definitely worth the hype, even for its time all those 10 years ago. The use of stop motion is the biggest highlight of the entire episode, and I was loving it from start to finish. This episode was meant to be an inspiration to all those American animated stop-motion specials like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, The Year Without a Santa Claus, and Jack Frost. Not the Thomas episode from Season 6. Yeah, the 1979 special. There we go. And the end result shows. Funnily enough, all 4 of them I mentioned are from Rankin Bass. While this special was animated by the same company that animated for Robot Chicken, as well as the stop-motion sequences for Chowder and The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. That being Screen Novelties. This is an episode where the crew took a break from the usual standard traditional 2D animation that was consistently used in the majority of the series and tried something more experimental. And I must say, it was a very successful attempt at trying a new style of animation that the show hardly uses at all. Okay, the show never actually used stop motion from when the series came out since it was consistently animated in 2D. But I think the only times they used stop-motion animation before this episode was when they made a special intro for the Season 6 episode, Truth or Square, and never used stop-motion animation ever again until 2 years later when the Season 8 episode, Frozen Face-Off, came out in July of 2011. And that episode only used the stop-motion animation for the abominable snow mollusk, while every other character in that episode was consistently in 2D. Now that is very clever of the animation team. Oh, the actual first time SpongeBob was in stop motion was in the 2004 movie. Don't you believe it? I am so glad the crew had taken full advantage of the episode enough to use another form of animation to make this episode look so different from the rest. But I would not say it's just the stop motion I can praise the episode for, it's clearly everything else. The stop motion models of the characters and the background sets are nicely detailed and crafted that they pay true homage to the series itself. The idea of Fruitcake turning everyone into complete jerks is unique. The opening scene playing Santa Has His Eye on Me at the beginning was quite the banger way to start the episode, especially when you see that running gag of Patrick plotting to trap Santa Claus. The Patchy and Potty segments are animated brilliantly with the stop motion, and I love the fact they added in Don't Be a Jerk, It's Christmas into the episode. Now, there is only one problem about this episode that is quite noticeable. Whenever SpongeBob enters Sandy's tree dome, he doesn't seem to appear wearing a water helmet. That was the plot hole from the episode I didn't care about or even noticed as a kid until this point. It also doesn't help that the same problems somehow carried over into the next stop-motion special, The Legend of Bikini Bottom from 2017. As much as I liked that modern classic of a SpongeBob Halloween special, it is actually quite noticeable just like last time, but only this time Patrick enters the tree dome with SpongeBob in it. Maybe in the 2 stop-motion specials of SpongeBob, the Bikini Bottomites don't need water helmets to avoid dying from breathing in air? Well, no. The sad thing is that according to the SpongeBobia Encyclopedia, helmets were too expensive for the crew to craft for SpongeBob or any of the undersea characters. Well, that's your reason. That's it. The water helmet plot hole is the only criticism I have with this episode, while everything else just works out fine like water. Overall, whenever the episode reruns on TV during the month of December, it was always a joy to sit through. The absolute best one of the bunch I have talked about, and nothing tops it. Yet another 10 out of 10. All because of the stop motion they have animated for this episode, and everything else that made this episode work so well with a cherry on top. I just love this one. And now we finally come to the third and last installment to the SpongeBob Christmas specials, SpongeBob's Road to Christmas. In this episode, SpongeBob has a Christmas present for Santa Claus and places it underneath his own Christmas tree on the night before Christmas, so Santa Claus can stop by and pick it up that night. However, Santa Claus accidentally misses his present, and when SpongeBob finds out that his present for Santa was not picked up by him one July morning, he becomes upset after having found out it was only 212 days after Santa's last visit to his pineapple. The only way to solve this issue was to get to the neglected present delivered to the North Pole with the help of Patrick and Plankton on their way. I ain't gonna lie, I was excited when this episode was announced despite the episode remaining untitled at the time. I liked the first two Christmas specials they've made, so how about a third one to be produced after almost 10 years from now? Yeah, it has been that way. Oh, hold on. So, it turns out that this episode was produced first in 2020? Right. Let's just get to the stuff that makes me like this episode, both visually and physically. Trust me, there is a lot to say I have not already liked this episode enough for, along with some other aspects that haven't been said enough already. The concept of SpongeBob visiting Santa Claus during the month of July was quite the humorous story idea the writers were going for, as it gets me thinking that the in-joke of this episode was that it has that Christmas in July theme that I can't help but think of Christmas in July. But we all know this wasn't the first time we had this concept, at least in another cartoon. The landscapes and backgrounds for Encino and the North Pole, as drawn and colored in the form of 2D animation, look very excellent to look at. I like that one of the themes from It's a SpongeBob Christmas is played again, during the scene where SpongeBob finally gives Santa his present. The title card has got that wintry theme that you would expect from any Christmas or winter-themed episode of SpongeBob. The animation still looks smooth, wacky, and stylish. I find it amusing to see all of Santa's reindeer being designed to be more muscular and buff, because when I think of Santa's reindeers here, I think of them as reindeer on steroids, or just big bad Giga Chads you really don't want to mess with. The return of the flying chair from the sponge who could fly, and SpongeBob mentioning Patchy being his biggest fan from SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout were nice sticks to continuity. There were some really nice visual and physical jokes like Plankton's tattoo saying he was born to be naughty because the last word on his tattoo came off as a buzzword to get himself on Santa's naughty list. The ending with Plankton actually being given a real Christmas present than expected was quite nice and surreal at the same time. I also liked how festive the Krusty Krab looks with its Christmas decorations during the last 43 seconds of the episode, and I must ask, is this the same episode that featured an animated Patchy the Pirate? Well, we have seen that before in the previous episode I talked about, but what I meant by that to say that Patchy is a 2D animated character in the special now. Believe it or not, I'd like to believe the production crew had to turn the real live-action setting of Encino, California into a cartoony animated setting, possibly due to the COVID-19 pandemic at the time. I don't know the full story behind production of the episode other than the obvious since I don't work at Nickelodeon Animation Studios, so let's leave it as a silly little speculation that I have made up. Can anyone imagine the real-world live-action setting being filmed for this one episode, and that you would end up getting to see Patchy the Pirate wearing a face mask against a virus? On paper, that would be really funny, but also a bit jarring since SpongeBob rarely has ever kept up with any real-world events most of the time. Seeing Patchy the Pirate as a 2D animated character absolutely blew my mind and caught me off guard. When a promo for the episode showed up on TV, along with the Rugrats reboots Hanukkah and Christmas special, it absolutely felt so surreal. Both he and Potty the Parrot look so great in 2D animation. I love how they're animated, I love how they're designed, and I love how accurate they are to their live-action counterparts. Well, what do you know? Another banger from the SpongeBob Christmas specials as I have expected at this point, and I think it's one of Season 13's best episodes in my opinion. What is surprising to know is that I have seen possibly 8 or 9 episodes of Season 13. The rest I either don't remember watching, or I have hardly ever seen them at all. And yes, I heard about the episode where one of SpongeBob's pals from camp makes an appearance. I did not pay attention to that episode, so I do not have an opinion on that one. And I have heard about the Title Zone crossover episode recently, although I am f***ing mad they pushed it over to next year all because of ratings. Anyways, it's a new Christmas special full of all sorts of fun and effort put into it, and it stands out very well out of all the episodes from the show's 13th season. It didn't have to be as great as the other 2 Christmas episodes, but that's okay. It's truly as good as its own thing at heart. And that's what matters. And now, the moments you have been waiting for. My ranking list for all 3 on the SpongeBob Christmas-themed specials. Like I said in the beginning of the video earlier, this one was quite simple to do because this is a top 3 ranking and not a worst to best kind of ranking. So here goes nothing. Number 3, SpongeBob's Road to Christmas. 2D Patchy and 2D Potty are the greatest parts of the whole episode, just like everything else I like about this episode for. Number 2, Christmas Who. You would expect this to be on number 1? This is hands down a complete classic, don't get me wrong, but I have something else that manages to outbeat this episode by default. And number 1, it's a SpongeBob Christmas. The ultimate epicness of a SpongeBob special, and the true definition of how a SpongeBob Christmas special works. Although, my real favorite SpongeBob special of all time is SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout. But we are talking about Christmas specials and not non-Christmas themed episodes. It is this borderline wonderful in full regard, Chef's Kiss. Sure, Christmas Who is the more superior and nostalgic one for reasons we all know why, and I'm sure this new generation of kids will like SpongeBob's Road to Christmas too. But It's a SpongeBob Christmas is a major standout out of all the 3 episodes that I have covered because of how everyone behind the scenes did such a great job. This one is the most epic of them all, and nothing will overtake this Christmas special for me, even after all those 10 years. Happy 10th anniversary, It's a SpongeBob Christmas. I wasn't sure how I was going to conclude this video, but if you are looking for a crazy yet silly and surreal Christmas in July story where SpongeBob, Plankton, and Patrick go to the North Pole to deliver Santa's abandoned present, then SpongeBob's Road to Christmas is for you. If you're looking for a more classic story of SpongeBob trying to spread the spirit of Christmas across the ocean without the sadistic devil himself ruining his good intentions, then Christmas Who is for you. And finally, if you're an animation guy that is a real sucker for stop motion like me, then It's a SpongeBob Christmas is for you. It all depends on how you prefer which of the three is the best one for you. But if you like all of them and can't call one of them your most favorite one of the bunch, then just say you like all three of them equally. I like the SpongeBob Christmas specials as they are consistent within the quality of how they are written. Just like what Gem Reviews said,
This is one thing SpongeBob always seems to get right. Holiday specials.
consistent pacing, excellent writing, memorable moments, very good comedic timing, and very well done visuals. I don't know when we will get a fourth Christmas special installment made for the SpongeBob series itself, but only time will tell either by the next decade or the next couple of years from now or not. But only time will tell. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, everyone. I'll see you all in the new year. Now I gotta go and enjoy my Christmas presents and watch some cartoon specials before I put my tree down.
Robotnik Claus!